When I left the church this morning and drove through town, it was full of people, packed full of people, no masks on, nothing.
Right, you're now live on YouTube.
Thank you. Welcome everybody to this evening's planning meeting. Welcome to all the people that have joined us on YouTube. Off we go. Item 1 of the agenda is minutes of the last meeting. All the minutes are attached. Have you all read the minutes?
Yeah, I'll move them, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Happy to second that, Chairman.
Okay, please raise your virtual hand. Okay, that's carried. Thank you. Please, thank you. Great. Item 2 on the agenda. Note of apologies, please, Town Clerk.
Chairman, we have apologies from Councillor Carpenter and Councillor Sutton.
Thank you. Item 3 on the agenda, declarations of interest. Are there any? No? Okay. Item 4 on the agenda, consideration of the applications for the planning permission. 4.1, planning permission, rear extension to existing dwelling to provide a utility room. I won't read out the names and addresses of these. Okay.
Any objections, Chair?
I wouldn't have thought so on this one.
No, I don't think.
Chairman, there's 2 hands raised. Councillor Anderson and Councillor Claxton.
Councillor Anderson.
Yeah, the same question. Is there any objections? If not, I'll move for approval.
There's no objections.
Mine was
the same question.
Okay, so shall I take that as a proposal and a seconder then?
Yeah.
Okay, all in favour, please raise your hands. Town Clerk, you'll have to tell me what the situation is there.
Top of the chair to see.
Okay, now here's the plan that was still up.
8.
That is the
I see
majority
8 times. Yeah, majority. Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I'm having problems of raising my hand and lowering it.
Well, you could.
Can
Yes, that's okay. I can see that. Okay, you and George, I can see them both. Okay, thank you. Right, 4.2. Planning permission, change of use. Conversion of offices to be used as a beauty salon. Works completed.
Wait a minute. No problems there.
Any objections on this one, Town Clerk?
There's no objections. You have 4 hands raised at the moment. Councillors Blackburn, Emson, Anderson and Claxton.
Well, I'll start at the top. Councillor Blackburn?
Yeah, I was just going to say it's in a business area and I'll be happy to move it.
Thank you. Councillor Steve Emson? Unmute yourself, Steve.
Yeah, I was just going to ask the same question if there's any objections, but I'll be happy to move this as well as it is a area of business tonight, so I'll be happy.
Okay. Councillor Claxton.
Just follow on from what everyone else said. It's bringing another business into Skegness, which is what we want. So I'll second anyone's proposal to move it.
Thank you. And anybody else? Was there anybody else?
Yeah, just me, Chairman. Yeah, I'm happy enough to second the proposal. Just a question, why is it retrospective?
Yeah, that I don't know, Mark.
I mean, in planning law, people can actually do developments. So this is a change of use, but they can actually do developments at risk and then apply. There's nothing to stop them doing that. Of course, if they run the risk of it being turned down, in which case they will have spent money making changes which they then can't put into being. But I imagine that they didn't anticipate probably that it would require a change of use, and they've been told, and they've then subsequently done it. I don't know. But
yeah, that sounds about right, Town Clerk. Okay. All in favour, please show. Pete, Councillor Mary, thank you. That's carried. Thank you. Planning permission, extension and alterations to the existing dwelling to provide a bedroom and bathroom on the site of the existing conservatory to be demolished.
Chairman, with this one, I looked at it, and this is the location plan for Valentine's Way. It's this property that's outlined in red. My concern is that the extension is going to go towards the road, and therefore it will be beyond the building line of the properties. If you look down the street, there is a broad building line. Yes, sure, they're slightly at a different angle, some of the properties, but there is a broad building line. This extension will go right up almost to the boundary, just a small gap, which is, that would be unusual for that to happen, because it's going to affect the layout of the estate effectively. I can show you this is the actual extension. This is the current boundary here, and it's going from, there's a conservatory which covers part of the bedroom at the moment. It's going to go right up, and this is the road along here. So it does seem that that's if I go back to this one, you can see it's there.
Is that not going to block you looking left up the road when it's done? If you come out of here,
I think they've got quite a high fence or a hedge along there. It's difficult to tell because I looked on Street View, and that's out of date. It dates from 2011. So right, I'm not able to get an up to date, because it's in Street View, it's got a hedge all the way around, whereas it talks about there being a fence. So and if you look on digital sort of satellite, you can sort of see it. I think some of it has been replaced, but so where is it? So it has, this is as it exists with a gate, and then that's going to be, so it's going to sort of go all the way up to here with a gate at the end part there. So I'd just be a bit, it's just a bit of concern, I would have thought, although it's unless it's going, actually, no, it's the rear hedge, so it's going right up to the neighbour's property, actually. Sorry about that. So it's going to go right up to here then, which again is, well, I don't know what is in this property here and whether or not they've got any windows along this side. But I guess if there's a hedge there, then there's a certain amount of light. It does seem a large extension for the size of the plot, but I'm guessing that's why they're applying for planning permission rather than having development rights.
Yeah, and no objection.
There's no objections to it, no.
Mr. Chairman, if I could just, on this particular property, I've heard the agent mentioned, it is on the corner of St Valentine's Way, Beacon Park Drive. Just to clarify, it has got a high fence and it has got a high hedge behind it. I think that is all the way around. I'm not 100% sure, but I think it is. So when you mention the actual viewing from the road, I don't think it would affect the view.
No. No, not if they've got a large fence and an edge.
Yeah.
Just
Well, I think the hedge is going to be replaced by a boundary fence that matches the other fence.
right.
I'm going to stop the share so I can see there's 4 hands raised.
Okay.
Councillor Anderson, Claxton, Councillor Brooks and Councillor Barry.
Well, I'll set off at the top again. Councillor Mark Anderson, please.
Yeah, thank you. I know the area well because I actually live. The property is just down the road from me, not near me, but down the road from me. So I know the area well. It's mine and the mayor's ward. So I did have some concerns about it. I think I'm happy if the 3-metre rule does apply from the boundaries, that i.e. the distance between the neighbour and this. I'm not quite sure. I'll have to ask the town clerk. Does that show in the plans? If not, there's no 3-metre there, then obviously I would be concerned because it will be against planning on those grounds. But if the 3-metre is in between the property, that's the space between the two properties, then I'm happy enough to go for approval on this.
Okay. Councillor Brooks.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm same as Councillor Anderson, a little bit concerned because by looking at that, it seemed as if it was going to go right up to the neighbour's property, basically. And I would be concerned, same as Councillor Anderson is. I think it should be set back a little bit from that so that everybody gets a fair piece of their own land, really, rather than coming to the end of your land and there's a house there with a brick wall. So that would be my view.
Yes, I can see the point of that. Right, Councillor Pete Barry, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Regarding this, if he goes over the town clerk was saying, if he goes over the boundary line, I don't think he's allowed to. But like you said, I think it really needs a site visit on this one to really look at it a bit more in depth. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Tell me, town clerk, is there a date on this one?
I haven't got that information in front of me. I mean, most of the applications we get a fairly short amount of time, and it certainly wouldn't be enough time to come back for a decision. Referring to Councillor Barry's point, it doesn't actually go beyond the building line. I was mistaken in terms of the angle. It's towards the neighbouring property that it's going. I can't tell from the plan how close the neighbouring property is to the boundary. This appears to be about 1 metre or so away from the boundary. If I share the screen again, you can see that here. If that's 900 there, that looks to be the distance between the boundary line, and the back looks to be about a metre. I'm not sure how far the other way the property is, because it doesn't show that on this. And I don't believe it shows it clearly on the, blow this one up. This is only a location plan, so it's not necessarily that accurate.
Yeah, but if you look at that, it looks like it's pretty well on the boundary anyway.
Yeah, it's a bit misleading though, that.
It is a bit misleading, yeah. But we don't really know. I mean,
if no objections from the neighbours, surely they'll have been in contact with the neighbours, and the neighbours will know what they're doing. Then,
yeah.
They may not have done.
Mr. Chairman, could I just raise one concern that we're talking about right at this moment in time?
Yes, please do.
Look at property 14 and 12 upside down. There's not 3 meters between them. So I wouldn't be imposing a rule of 3 meters when they haven't got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 doors away.
No.
So no, I think the question there for the 3 meter ruling would be out of turn, because this particular property has more garden area than any other property on that street.
Yes.
I'm quite happy to go with the ward councillors on this.
Yeah, Chairman, I'm when I said about the 3 metre, it's not my ruling, it's East Lindsey's ruling, and I agree with the mayor when he said if you look at the other properties along there, 14 etc., and you look down on the site location map, you'll see the gap. Can you, town clerk, put the pointer just below? No, next property along, further down, you'll see there should be a 3 metre gap in there between those two properties. When I was on planning, that was what was registered registered for Beacon Park Estate. So if as long as 3 metres in that gap, we don't know, I'm happy enough to approve it. As you know, as with the other properties along there.
So am I right in saying that you accept it, and we're going to?
And as long as that gap, which I think it is because it's delegated, I think the planners have looked at it, there will be a 3 metre gap between the two properties.
Okay. Is there a seconder for that? Do we have a seconder?
Quite happy to second that, Chairman.
Thank you. Right. We'll go to your visual and Councillor Barry.
Got a majority.
You got a majority anyway. Okay, thank you. Steve Empson, lower your hand, please. Councillor Pete Barry.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, I didn't lower my hand.
Councillor Pete Barry, can you turn your sound down slightly?
I'm having a bit of trouble with that. I've set it all on the computer and I'm having a little bit of trouble, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, we'll continue as we are then.
Is it too loud?
It is very loud. I'm finding it very loud. I keep moving back, but it's not doing me any good.
Then, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And you just talking your.
Right, can we move on then, please? 4.4, planning permission, construction of a vehicle access.
Chairman, this one has been withdrawn because it's a matter for Lincolnshire County Council, not a matter for the District Council.
Okay, thank you. Okay, 4.5, consent to display one number non-illuminated fascia sign, Lumley Road, Skegness.
Yeah, I'll move it, Chairman.
second. No problem there.
Thank you. All in favour, please show. Thank you.
Thank you.
4.6, section 73 application in relation to condition number 1, approved plans as imposed on planning permission reference number, which was a detailed particulars related to the erection of one number pair of semi-detached houses.
Chairman, it's a non-material amendment in effectively changing the type of roof tile because the one that they had was or had listed was no longer available. So it's not really something that we would normally comment on. I'm surprised that it's been put up for consultation because usually non-material ones just get dealt with by the East Lindsey officers.
Yes, I would have thought the building inspector would have just passed that without messing about, really. It's just a matter of a different tile. Okay.
Move it, Chairman.
Move that one. All in favour? That's moved. Thank you very much. Item 5 on the agenda is proposed police bay. Attached. Have you seen that?
Chairman, could I ask the reasons why because the police do require a police bay on Lumley Road? Is that because of the pubs and clubs?
I'm not aware of the detail, the reasoning behind it's coming as an application, but it doesn't. I haven't seen that detail, unfortunately.
That's first. It's actually the first time I've ever seen the police apply for a bay on a main shopping street. They must have a reason for it. It doesn't. It's not explaining it in the document.
It doesn't show.
Councillor Saxon.
Does it say where they want the bay?
It's
on the plan there.
Could you put the plan back up, please, Town Clerk?
I got you. Ah. That is for you. Yeah. Oh. Never on the view, and we never done apply for a bay.
No, I've never known it. Could I propose we just move it?
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman. I've got my hand up here.
Sorry, I can't see hands, Mr. Mayor.
Me as well.
Okay, virtual one. I can see where this bay is proposed to go, outside the obviously the hot roast company there. What I would question is why they couldn't use the 2 parking bays that people park there all day long without restrictions in front of the taxi rank outside the old Mardi Gras there. Just letting people park there all day with no penalties, and we're having to give up another car parking space in the town. When there's 2 perfectly good spaces for emergency vehicles at the front of the taxi rank, where local people just park the cars all day.
Yep.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman.
Could I have Councillor Claxton, please?
Yeah. Parking's quite shocking in season and out of season. A police car can park anywhere it wants without restriction. So I don't see why they've got the whole They've got the whole loading bay if they have to park for assistance. If they're into the Hildred Centre, they can use the car park at the rear. But no, I wouldn't like to be giving up a parking bay on Lumley Road. I'd oppose this one.
Thank you. Councillor Pete Barry, please.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I think that place where they've actually want to allocate the police bay is Blue Badge area, isn't it? A disabled area, is it? Am I right in saying that? Are you hearing me? All right, Mr. Chairman?
No, it's not the Blue Badge area, Pete.
Oh, sorry, Danny. Thank you. It's loading area.
There's two disabled bays in that stretch, Pete, but they want the police bay at the other end of that. Near enough by where the outside the ice cream kiosk, I'd say, by looking at that map.
Yes, I understand, Simon. Thank you. But that is for offloading, isn't it? Or is it just parking?
No, it's just parking.
Mr. Chairman.
Councillor Danny Brooks, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I agree with Councillor Claxton and Councillor Dannett. Parking is in extremely short supply in our town, and this will just force somebody else to either illegally park or have to pay for it. I think we need to be supporting the town centre and the high streets because they are dying out. We don't want to be getting rid of all of our car parking spaces if we can help it. So I would oppose this also.
Okay, very good point. Councillor Blackburn.
I was just thinking they've probably put it there for a reason. They probably want it in that area. But if we suggested maybe just slightly down where the loading area starts, just the other side of the traffic lights, that might appeal to them better. And then we're not losing, because there's never anybody on that loading bay apart from vans that shouldn't be there.
Right.
So I would suggest that we suggest to them they moved it a little bit further down, sort of opposite the Yorkshire Trader area.
Right. Okay. Right. So we've where we're at is a proposal.
Can I quickly come in, please?
Yes. Sorry.
That's okay. I totally agree with the mayor here. I think there are spaces available. That's not going, and Councillor Brooks, of course, and Councillor Claxton. There are spaces where it can accommodate this. It's not in our gift to tell the police where they can put or ask for planning permission for this to happen. But I think they need to seriously look at other places and not taking up vital parking spaces, as what's been said by the mayor and also Councillor Brooks. I think parking spaces on Lumley Road is paramount now, and more people are being pushed into car parking at East Lindsey car parks where they have to pay. If you look at all the roads around the town centre, they've all got double yellow lines now, and more TROs coming in left, right and centre. So local residents are finding it extremely hard to park without paying. So I think they need to have another look. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Mark Dennett, please.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. As I said, we're not going against them wanting a parking space, but I think there's two perfectly good parking spaces for all emergency vehicles on the other side of the road in front of the taxis, which could be used for the night scene and everything. And we're talking walking distance across the road. Perfectly good place. That used to be the taxi rank and they took it away. And I think that's we would be writing to them and asking them if that would be a suitable place for them. Thank you.
Okay, so there was a proposal that we asked the police to consider moving that bay to somewhere else. That was a proposal from Councillor Blackburn. Did we have a seconder for that, please?
I think that's a good idea, Mr. Chairman, and I would second that motion.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's
Chairman,
what everyone's talking about. Sorry.
Chairman, I was going to say it's probably worth adding the point that was made about the economic vitality of the town and the need to ensure that there's adequate short-term parking in the centre of town in order to support the struggling businesses.
That's very nicely put, Town Clerk.
Yes, perfect, that, Town Clerk.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll write that in your letter. Thank you. Okay, so we've got proposed by Councillor Blackburn, seconded by Danny Brooks. Please show all in favour.
Mr. Chairman, just before we go to the vote, can we
Yes.
just confirm that what I mentioned, that offer the parking across the road? Can we put that there is an alternative just literally nearby?
Well,
we're not asking for much, I don't think.
I would say just across the road and further down in the parking bay, taking up a little bit of the loading bay rather than anywhere else.
Okay, thank you.
I would include that. Okay.
Yeah, I would as well.
All in favour, please show. Thank you. That's carried. Thank you. Okay, item 6 on the agenda, neighbourhood development plan, verbal update by the Town Clerk.
Hi, Chairman. The East Lindsey District Council have now responded to the submitted neighbourhood development plan draft, and they are now requiring a sustainability appraisal, including a strategic environmental assessment. They're wanting a revised policy to include HRA screening, want a response to their equality impact assessment, which will mean some of the policies have to be rewritten slightly to actually justify their existence. And there will also need to be a general response to the officer comments that have come back as well. Now, the appraisal and strategic environmental assessment is yet another piece of evidential work that will have to be done. And similarly, the screening assessment and the response to the equality impact assessment will also need to be put together with evidence. Now, there is a cost to this. It's going to cost another £4,200. I'm bringing it here for information tonight, but it will go to council on the 25th of November because the funding sits in reserves, and I don't have, so it's not within the, it's in a reserve for the NDP, but I don't have the authorisation to go ahead and spend that. As a council decision. So it will come back to council on the 25th for approval. But as this committee was overseeing the NDP and the steering group, I thought I brought it here so that you're aware of what's happening.
Yes, thank you for that, Town Clerk.
Chairman, can I?
Yes,
can I
please.
Yeah. I think that we need to go ahead. I mean, this has been dragging. We've been dragging our heels on this for many a year. I wasn't. I was thinking maybe this needs to go back to the steering committee, but hearing the clerk, what he's basically saying is that it's got to go to full council for the funding for the new issues that East Lindsey District Council have raised. The issue I'm concerned about is HRA. Haven't got a clue what that means. Also, the environmental screening. What is that? Again, I don't know. So, are we saying that we need to have more instruction to what these issues are that East Lindsey District Council are raising, so we understand what that means, as well as our residents? Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Perhaps our Town Clerk could explain that to us.
It's about providing evidence to East Lindsey and ultimately to the inspectors who will look at it to show that these matters have been considered when drawing together the policies. So, for example, if you look at the equality impact assessments, one of the policies is to do with out of town park and ride. We need to, there is an assessment that could have an impact on disabled people's access, and therefore we need to put in place how that policy responds to that, why it's necessary, and what the impact actually would be, and how that would be mitigated. So those, and it has to be phrased obviously in planning terms. So that's one of the examples. The strategic environmental assessment is the impact of the plan on the environment. Does it have an impact? So there's a piece of work there to actually assess whether there is an environmental impact, be that positive or negative. That it will be a light touch. But it's a document that East Lindsey are requiring of us, because really they feel that there are some things in there that could impact the environment.
Can I quickly come back on hearing the town clerk, if I can, Chairman?
Please do, Councillor.
Thank you. I think some of us are probably aware I chaired the Skegness travel plan back in 97 to 2000, when all these issues were done that the town clerk has raised back then on the feasibility of a park and ride into Skegness. And that park and ride was at the Skegness Business Centre on the A158, which Lincolnshire Roadcar did it or trialled it for 2 years before the plug was pulled. So the feasibility was done and the consultation was done at that time by local residents and also tourists alike. And the issue was full pedestrianisation or single pedestrianisation of Lumley Road as part of the project. And the environmental impact assessment was because Lumley Road is unsafe because of the fumes of stacking up cars using the East Lindsey car parks at the foreshore. And we know Custom Boulevard, Roman Bank, Lumley Road are above safe levels of pollution because of fumes, because of the way the East Lindsey car parks are, and people are waiting in traffic with those pedestrians, the crossings, etc., etc. So what I'm basically saying, the evidence is already there, and I'm a bit amused or confused that East Lindsey are asking for this when they were part of that those many years ago. I mean, traffic congestion has got worse, not better. Thank you.
Councillor Anderson, thank you very much for that. I questioned the connected coast. How would a park and ride work when the buses are just going to come out from the park and ride into the Wainfleet Road traffic, which is where all the build-up is? So, I mean, it's absolutely crazy. The only way a park and ride would actually work was if they opened up the road going across the railway at the back of Tesco. That's the only way. So that would cost a great deal of money. And would Lincoln County Council spend that much money? I don't think so.
Chairman, just to go back to the council's NDP and the reasons behind it, this was all about trying to encourage more people into the actual town centre, because at the moment we've got a coast which is used by people far and wide, but actually only a small proportion of those people visiting the beach actually visit the shops and the kiosks and whatever in the town as a whole. People often bring their picnics, have their picnic on the beach, and then disappear again. There was also the congestion, particularly along Grand Parade, going into near the clock tower. So consideration was given to that, and how having parking further out of town and bringing people into the town centre and would enable those to be filtered, if you like, through chosen areas. And I think as we see, it's going to be quite important as we see Lumley Road losing major brand shops. It's going to have to reinvent itself in terms of the type of unit it has there, and it's going to need footfall. And I suspect it's going to become more of the part of the tourist offering rather than it just being a shopping precinct. Because I mean, what, 4 or 5 shops gone in the last couple of months. So it's how you get people, it's how you manage people. I think everybody would have liked there to have been a much bigger detail on how traffic is managed and moved around town, and how the different areas of town could be, you know, viewed in terms of pedestrians, vehicles, etc. But that information wasn't available at the time. I understand that something has been done for the town fund, but I've been unable to actually identify the traffic management plan that is supposedly been done. I haven't been able to find it on any website as yet. So whether that will come out as part of the information as we move forward with the town plan, I don't know.
No. And I have no doubts whether you'll see it. Councillor Danny Brooks, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, I can remember when they trialled that park and ride, what Councillor Anderson said, and it worked in July and August. But on the shoulders of the season, there was nobody using it because there was parking in and it was easier to get in. There's going to be a shift in the traffic in Skegness when they pedestrianised Tower Esplanade. It will be pushed right down the South Parade, so it's going to all change there. So you know, I think the park and ride, if you want to put people into the town centre, you've got to stop them getting off the coaches on the seafront, and you've got to put them into the coach park where they've got to walk through the town, as used to happen. That's going to be the only way. Park and ride will work in the summer, in the height of the season. But you get to September when there's loads of spaces in the car parks on the seafront, you'll just drive past it and go there, as did happen when, as Councillor Anderson said, they trialled it all. They trialled it for a couple of years, and in the end, it wasn't cost effective, so they scrapped it. So I think the coach park where it is now should be used, and people should be stopped being allowed to get off on the seafront where they go straight down to the beach.
Councillor George Saxon.
Yeah, 2015, from 15, that was suggested that we get the buses back on into the car parks. But of course, then the bus companies were saying, and some councillors at that time, a lot of councillors in fact, said that it was the grey pound that they would lose, and the shops down there, because the older people didn't want to walk from that through town. So that was the main objection. We did say eventually with the plan, they put the loading bays across the road and stopped all the cars parking there, but the buses still parked. And of course, now we put a few bus parks further up the road towards the Premier Inn. They get used, they get left there, but it hasn't solved the original problem.
Councillor Mark Anderson.
Thank you. I'm still a bit confused. I totally agree with where Councillor Brooks, Danny Brooks, is coming from. I think he and I are singing from the same hymn sheet. What I want to do is, as what the town clerk says, it's just not Lumley Road, it's also the High Street as well. That is our major economic driver in the heart of our town, and we've got to sort of kind of like preserve it, whatever the future it may hold. Retailers, as what the town clerks has said, will come and go. Although we've lost 5 major retailers in the town in the space of a few weeks, and they will be going. But if small independents come in, then we need to help them with proper economic impact. And that means a good footfall for those people that want to walk down Lumley Road rather than be polluted by diesel or pollution or cars queuing. So we've got to look to the future. But again, you know, I'm confused why East Lindsey are asking about this when they're just getting towns funding, as you know, Chairman, because you're on it, for the pedestrianisation of Grand Parade. But we don't know the traffic impact of what that is happening. Yet they're asking us on our plan for an assessment. It's just ludicrous, Chairman. It's hypocrisy. And you know, self-presentation of their own. You know, what I fear is trying to protect their foreshore car parks like they did in the late 90s, their revenue stream. But they're not looking at the environmental and economic drivers for our town. That's what I fear. Thank you.
Chairman, to be fair to East Lindsey, I think what they're actually doing is saying you have a policy, you've put a policy in here, number of policies, you've got some evidence behind why you want them. What they're wanting to see is what the impact of those policies being implemented would be, and that is both in terms of the environment, and there may well be a park and ride would probably have a positive environmental impact, but in terms of like the equality impact, that might have it might be a negative impact on those that would use a park and ride facility because they can't get as close to the places they want to be as they can at the moment. So I think they're valid questions. I think they're things that we just need to address and then move on so that the NDP, as it's put forward, is as watertight as possible, because these are the sorts of questions that the external inspectors will ask anyway. So it wouldn't just be East Lindsey who's asking those. And if we've got that evidence and put that evidence forward, then it makes the case for the policies in the NDP stronger.
Yeah, and I think,
Chairman, can I quickly come back? Sorry about that. Regarding disabled parking, is what the town clerk was emphasising, and East Lindsey are asking. When we have the consultants, more spaces on Arcadia car park, okay, which is East Lindsey car park. The proposal was there for more spaces to accommodate disabled people, which is near enough in the heart of our town. But East Lindsey threw it out at that time because they felt it was a loss of revenue. That's what I get concerned about all this, because I think it's all about protectionisation of revenue funding for their car parks.
Thank you, Mark. I totally agree with you. That's what it's all about, getting their coin in for the car parks. Okay, okay, gentlemen, ladies.
Can I just say this is something for full town council, not for planning. It's something to be put into the next town council, not to carry on about this now, because it's got to be done all over again.
Yes, you're correct, George.
Thank you. Can I make a recommendation that we actually, the recommendation of the plan committee go before the town council, that we get £4,200 for the monies that are wanted for answering these East Lindsey's issues that the town clerk has said.
Okay, thank you. Did you get that, town clerk?
Yes, I mean, that would have to be seconded and voted upon if it's going to be a recommendation of this committee that the committee supports the
Okay.
£4,216 being spent in carrying out these additional pieces of work.
Okay, thank you for that.
doing that, Chairman, then we can have the full debate as what Councillor
Okay.
Saxon requested.
So it's been proposed. Is there a seconded for this, please?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Thank you, Councillor Blackburn. All in favour, please show. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that's a majority.
Thank you. Okay, thanks very much for that. Thanks very much for this evening's meeting. Thank you.